Hi, this is Tim Hubbard, supervisor of the great town of Riverhead, and you're watching Riverhead in Action, a media campaign designed to highlight the incredible work of the 350 plus employees that comprise Riverhead's 26 departments and sub-departments, town events, projects, job openings, local businesses, and other town happenings. I hope you find this informative and enjoyable, and thank you for watching Riverhead in Action.
Welcome everyone, I'm Mark McLaughlin and this is another episode of Riverhead in Action. We have a special guest today by the name of Reichel. He's the superintendent of the Riverhead Sewer District. Michael, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Glad to be here. Let's take a tour.
Okay. This is the Riverhead Sewer District office, and it's also the office for the Calvin Sewer District and the office for the Scavenger Waste District.
Very nice.
We'll be happy. So when a truck comes in to dump, they discharge into the manways here, and what they'll do is they'll go over and push a button. And what that does is it injects potassium permanganate into the waste as it's first coming into the treatment plant. Potassium permanganate is an oxidizer, and what it does is it converts the hydrogen sulfides into chlorides, which keeps it in the keeps the water and keeps the solids in the water instead of emitting the odors into the air. So then from here you're going through preliminary treatment, which is a bar screen. What it does is it removes any paper, rags, clumps of grease, hair, any of those large things that can either plug up a pump or that can damage a pump. So after the water goes through preliminary treatment, it goes into this large tank, which is an equalization tank. It holds about a day's worth of flow, which is about 100,000 gallons. It's divided into two halves, so we can take, each tank out of service for repairs. There is a pump in each tank. This is a new odor control system that we just had installed.
So odor control.
Odor control?
Yeah.
Yep. What it does is it takes the odors that's in the tank, so the odors don't get emitted into the air. Sends them through an odor scrubber,
right.
And then it relieves the air. The odor scrubber's on the other side. So this tank will fill up and we'll be pumping out of it into the head of the plant all day long. But then the level will rise and we're able to store it so that we continue to discharge into the plant at a steady rate.
Wow, this is why tours like this is so important, because you never knew anything like this. I'm so glad everybody's getting an inside look. We're next. So
the flow from the equalization tank comes to this point. This is a flow control. It's a constant head box, and what it is we'll raise the weir on that side if we want to send more flow into the treatment plant, or else we'll lower the flow, the weir. We want to send it back to the equalization tank. So the way a primary clarifier works is the water comes into the center column, and the solids settle down to the bottom of the tank and then are removed. The floatables go up to the surface, and there's a scraper that goes across the surface, pulls the material off of the surface, and drops it into a hopper on the other side.
Now, Michael, what do we have here?
These are rotating biological clarifiers, and what they do is two separate things. One, they remove the BOD in the water, and the second half of it does an ammonia nitrate conversion, where they convert the ammonias. There's a lot of ammonia in wastewater. Converts it into nitrates. Baking soda, which is sodium bicarb, and what we do is we inject it here. This is where the two clarifiers join together, and the flow comes to this one point. Then we hit it with the sodium bicarb. From here, it splits off. Goes into these two banks of RBCs. It splits off this way and travels from this end. What the water looks like now. Okay, the green is just some algae that's growing. You can see that it's very clear. Yeah. It's not the final product, but it's all about volume reduction and separation of the solids and the organics from the wastewater. Okay.
This is so important. You see, he's giving you an inside look of how the sewer district keeps our community, and environment safe. Look at this.
So this is considered a type B plant, where it's a biological plant. it's a fixed film, meaning that the bacteria is fixed onto those discs.
Right.
In an activated sludge plant, your bacteria is bouncing around, moving around inside of the tank, and you keep them moving around by mixers. And also the treatment is based on air and aeration. So this plant over here is like an aeration plant. There's a biological plant. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to aerate the sludge to make it more compatible with the sludge that's generated at the sewer district plant, because when you process the sludge, it then comes out much drier.
Right.
And when you're getting rid of sludge by the ton, you want to make sure it's as dry as you can get it. Okay?
Right.
So it gets aerated here, and then it gets sent up to the sludge blending tanks. So we've removed now anything that can clog up the pumps or clog up the mixers and turn into a giant rag.
Right.
So the water passes through the fine screens, then it makes its way into the aerated grit chamber, where the flow is slowed down, and the grit material settles down to the bottom of the chamber. There's a grit slurry pump at the end of the cable.
Oh.
What it does is it pumps the grit material up, across, all the way into the cyclone degritter, and then into the grit classifier and separator. And the water that's used to carry the grit is then returned back into the system to be retreated. The grit, and after the water goes through preliminary treatment, it comes into these tanks. These are they're equalization tanks, and what they do, again, they equalize the flow. So at night, nobody's using the system. The plant needs to continue to run, but again, it's a biological plant. You want to feed it.
Wow, Michael. Just when you think you're finished, there's another department going on. What's this now?
Well, this is where all the action happens.
Okay.
in the sewage treatment plant's collection system. We did preliminary treatment, primary treatment. So what happens in this tank? These tanks are they each hold 750,000 gallons each. Wow. They're 23 feet deep, and it kind of works like a washing machine.
Yeah.
So right now, this tank is filling, and that mixer is on. And what it's doing is it's taking the bacteria that are in the wastewater and that are in the tank and mixing it with the fresh sewage that's coming in.
Right.
That's their food source.
Michael, there seems to be a lot of action going on here.
Yes, this is the hollow fiber membranes that are used for filtration. And it's a physical barrier that the water needs to pass through before it can be discharged down to the ultraviolet disinfection system. Here it goes down to a gravity belt thickener where the water is removed and the water is separated from the solids, and we bring it to about a 2% solid. But we're going to get to that later on when we get down to the sludge handling system.
Okay. Michael, you've got a lot of explaining to do with this one.
All right. So this is called a gravity belt thickener. What it's meant to do is to make this sludge thicker, get rid of the water, because it's more expensive to get rid of heavy sludge than it is to get rid of dry sludge. So what we do is we add a polymer to it, and it acts as a coagulant and makes the solids stick together and separate themselves from the water. So we inject polymer in the next room. As the sludge comes through, it comes up to that round pipe. So step up here, you can see a little better. Then from here it wells up and goes that way across the belt. So as it's doing that, all the water is dropping out of it. So what we do again is we'll take the sludge from the thickened sludge tank after it came off the gravity belt thickener.
Right.
We hit it with polymer again. We push it up onto the entrance of the belt, travels from the left to the right. And as it does, it's getting thicker and thicker, as you can see, because the water's dropping out of it.
Right.
These are retention plows. If we want the sludge to be a little thinner, we'll raise up the plow and give it less time on the belt. But we want it nice and thick, so we keep the plows down so it retains the water, the sludge on the belt, and doesn't let it blast. This is the UV disinfection system. So the water that comes from the permeate tank in the back, gravity feeds down here, and the water passes through these two banks of UV lights. And as it does, it kills the bacteria. So it doesn't really kill the bacteria, it alters the DNA of the bacteria by breaking the cell wall, and it makes them sterile.
Well, Michael, I could tell you've given us a really behind-the-scenes inside look of the Riverhead Sewer District. And now we're heading home. What's this?
All right. So what this is called is the disinfection system. That is a redundancy of the first disinfection system. And this is the water that goes over to the golf course next door, and it's used for irrigation on the golf course.
Right.
So we have the ability to send over up to 450,000 gallons a day over there, but we're currently sending over whatever they ask for, which is around anywhere from 175,000 to 200,000 gallons a day. That are taking part in that.
How many years have you been doing this for?
It'll be 40 years.
40 years.
Month.
Michael, 40 years.
Yep.
This is why we're able to get all this valuable information. You are a library. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I hope you enjoyed it just like I did. This is Michael Reichel, the Superintendent of the Riverhead Sewer District. Riverhead in Action. I'm Mark McLaughlin. Till next time.